A few weeks ago, I bought my first cooled dedicated astrophotography camera, the ZWO ASI533MC Pro. In this video, I will be capturing the North American Nebula using this cooled dedicated astrophotography camera. I will show you the equipment that I'll be using, share the light frames as well as the final stacked image with you, and for sure share my opinions about this camera with you. So if you're thinking about getting this camera for astrophotography, this video is just right for you. So join me for a new night of astrophotography from my backyard. So tonight I'm planning to capture the first image of a nebula with my new camera. So with my new dedicated astrophotography camera, which is the ZWO ASI533MC Pro. Before starting the astrophotography session, I would like to mention that this video is not sponsored, I am not being paid for it, and all products shown in this video were purchased by myself. Before actually planning to capture the nebula later on, I'm planning to talk about the astrophotography setup that I'm planning to use. For sure, you already know the camera that I'm planning to use for tonight, but I have attached different other components to this astrophotography setup too. So this is the setup that I'm planning to use for tonight. So the mount that I'm planning to use is the Skywatcher HEQ5 Pro go-to mount. On the top of this mount, I've attached the Oscar SQA55 telescope, which is a quintuplet refractor telescope. So it has a focal length of 264 millimeters, which is definitely a great focal length for wide field astrophotography. So when using this telescope in combination with this camera later on, I will get an amazing field of view of the North American Nebula. On the top of this astrophotography setup, I've attached a guiding system, so I'm planning to use a 60mm guide scope, and at the back of this guide scope, I've attached the ZWO ASI120mm mini mono guiding camera. So tonight I'm planning to use a longer exposure time, so I'm planning to go up to 5 minutes, and therefore I'll need a guiding system for capturing these images without getting star trails in the end. Here I've attached the ZWO ASI Air Pro. I'm controlling both cameras with this one and the tracking mount as well. So this will be the astrophotography computer that I'll be using for tonight. So this is the entire setup that I'm planning to use for tonight. So tonight I'll have only a few hours where I can actually capture images of a deep scale object. Therefore, I've decided to go for a very bright object because I'm planning to capture a good image in the end. But when planning to capture a very dark object, I'll have to collect a longer exposure time. Therefore, I've decided to go for a very easy object because then I can capture an amazing image with just a few hours of total exposure time. The object I'm planning to capture tonight is the North American Nebula. I've captured this object multiple times before with different lenses and different telescopes, but tonight I'm planning to capture this object with this cooled dedicated astrophotography camera. So later on I'll have to do the polar alignment process, which means I have to align the mount to Polaris, which is the North Star, and then I plan to focus the telescope. I guess the guiding system is already in focus, but I'm definitely checking the focus later on in order to be able to achieve a good tracking later on. And then I really hope that the filter is working quite good. I forgot to mention that. So at the back of this telescope I've attached a 2-inch UV-ER cut filter. So this is the astrophotography setup that I'm planning to use for tonight. So right now you can see a single light frame I've captured. So I was able to capture multiple images of the North American Nebula, and I've now processed the data that I've captured, and now I'm planning to go through a few images, so one light frame and the final stacked image. So that night I was able to collect a total exposure time of around 1 hour, which is unfortunately not enough in order to create a good image. So therefore I've decided to collect longer exposure time in the upcoming days. I really hope that the weather will improve soon, which means that there are no clouds. So first of all, let's talk about the single light frame I've captured. So this is a single light frame I've captured with the camera, and so this image has a total exposure time of 5 minutes. So first of all, I'd like to say that I'm pretty surprised by how many structures are already visible in just a single light frame. So you can see a lot of structures in this area. I mean, this is one of the brightest regions in the North American Nebula, and you can definitely see some structures here as well. And I mean, here as well, this entire region, you can see some structures here, and in this region as well, especially in this area. When zooming into the corners of this image, you can see that the stars are perfectly around. So definitely the telescope performs quite good. I mean, the sensor is very small, so usually you should not have any problems with the stars when using this camera in combination with the telescope. So we do have no chromatic aberration, I guess. I mean, I've used the Oscar ASCII A55, which is a perfect telescope, and it performed perfect even in combination with a full-frame camera, so I've expected the image to be that good, honestly. So in this case, I've cooled down the sensor of the camera to minus 10 degrees Celsius, and honestly, I'm pretty surprised by the signal-to-noise ratio. So you can definitely see that there is less noise in this image. So when capturing a single exposure time with a DSLR camera, so a 5-minute single exposure time, I'll get more noise. So I will definitely have more noise in my image. So I was definitely pretty surprised by how good this camera actually is. So when zooming on this bright star, for example, you can see a blue halo around these stars. So in this region, and we're looking on this star down there as well. So that's due to clouds being in my images, but in this case I've decided to use most of the images because the total exposure time is relatively short, and when deleting a lot of images it will be even shorter, so I'll definitely need to collect more exposure time in the upcoming days, so I really hope that I can do so. And so just wanted to mention that. So now let's go over to the stacked image. So this is the final processed image of the North American Nebula. So in this case we do have a total exposure time of 1 hour and 15 minutes. So definitely quite short, but I mean, I've captured this region of the night sky multiple times before, and honestly, I've always collected an exposure time of more than 5 hours. And in this image, there are already a lot of structures visible with an exposure time of just over 1 hour. So it's definitely quite amazing how good this camera actually is. So when zooming in, you can definitely see that the signal to noise ratio is very, very good. We do have a lot of signal and noise is not that noticeable. So when using a DSLR camera, you'll definitely have more noise in your final results. So I was definitely impressed by how good this camera actually is. So this is actually everything I've planned to mention so far about this object. Unfortunately, I was not able to collect a longer exposure time of this object, but still this image has an exposure time of 1 hour and 15 minutes, which is already quite good. So in this case, I've used a single exposure time of 5 minutes, which results in a total exposure time of 1 hour and 15 minutes. If you have any further questions about this camera, definitely feel free to ask me down below in the comments and I will definitely help you. If you would like to further support me, you can now become a member of my channel. Becoming a member of my channel would really support me, and your support really means a lot to me. So if you have any further questions, definitely feel free to ask me down below in the comments. And if this video was interesting and helpful to you, I would really appreciate a like and a subscription. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, clear skies, Felix.